Well, we're joined now by somebody who knows only too tragically all about this. Gaynor Bell, who's very much a knife crime campaigner now since losing her own son back in 2000. Thanks for joining us, Gaynor. And obviously, our commiserations. I mean, what a terrible tragedy that you've been through too. But obviously, all of these years later, you must have thoughts on how on earth we can get to grips with knife crime. What can we do? Would stop and search help?
Stop and search, yes. But unfortunately, sometimes they hide knives down drain pipes and down grids and pull it up later. You know, sometimes they have them hidden quite often. But, gosh, over 20 years now, I've been beating the drum, if you like, saying education, education. And you'll see a lot of people saying exactly the same thing. We need to get into schools at a very early age. I'm talking about junior school, and carry on, put on the curriculum and get it through to children exactly what it's like. We have many, many charities going around doing it, but they're funded for, say, one session and then come out. That's not good enough. It needs to go onto the curriculum to tell children from an early age, right up until they're leaving school, how it affects the victims, i.e. myself, and how, you know, they don't realise how does it affect their family. You know, I shouldn't say I have sympathy for their families, but I do, because all of a sudden, right out of the blue, their son, their loved one is locked away for life. And they get stories from friends and peers saying, oh, it's easy in prison. I've been into nearly quite a lot of prisons and seen what it's like. Yes, we need to be stronger, but having that door shut on them is a hard, sentence. How it does affect? It just doesn't affect me. I'm over 20 years now, and it still feels like yesterday. You know, my son, I think, I've lost two sons. One was killed by a drunken driver at 16, and then Stefan, that was Adam. Stefan was killed at 22. And people think, oh, they must have been into drugs or they've been in this place. But no, it can happen to anyone. Like we saw that poor young girl, And the only thing to stop this is to get the knives off the street. But when I say get the knives off the street, go to the core of it. I've actually said this for so many years. All these charities should come under the same umbrella, running the same programme in the schools and stay there, not go in for one session and come out, because the children forget. They absolutely forget. I used to do a programme, because I know this has happened just like this.
Forgive me, Gaynor, for interrupting, but you said we need to get to the core of it. What is the core of it? Because it's something that's almost sort of cultural, isn't it, now that young people are saying, oh, we need knives for protection, which is crazy.
For protection, years ago, they used to put a comb in the pocket as the sort of accessory. Now it's putting a knife in the pocket. And yes, a lot of it is for taking them out for protection. Just one instance, I've been to young offenders' prisons. One young boy had been stopped for having a knife. And I said to him, why the hell did you take that knife out with you? And he pulled his trousers down and showed me a big slash across his bottom. He said, I was making sure if they tried to attempt it again, I had a knife in my hand. He didn't use it. I can tell you cases of where lads have gone out with a knife, no intentions of using it. And this is what we try and get through to it. But if they're confronted and pull that knife out and wave it, and then all of a sudden they're attacked, that knife can be taken off them, used against them. They've turned around and said, I didn't mean to do it. So this is where going in schools and explaining to them how these things can happen and how their life can change around. I always say to them, there's two roads you can go on. This road where you can make something of your life, or this road where you stay exactly where you are.
You said at the beginning that it's about education. That's what you've been banging on about for the last 20 years. So the main things, if you were going into a school now, you'd want to illustrate is that if you take a knife out, even as you said, with no intention of using it, it's very likely that it will be used on you, actually. And that if you do use a knife on somebody else, you're going to be locked up for life. Are there any other lessons you'd want to say?
It's basically, as I say, drumming through to them. I'll just tell you, giving them scenarios. This is part of lessons of I used to do with my very good friend, unfortunately passed away now, as where we used to go into a school and do sort of a reenactment of somebody ringing up and saying, "Hey mate, come out here with your knife," you know. Now they've got to keep that street cred, haven't they? So instead of saying, "Oh yeah, I'm coming with," and this has happened so many times, to turn around and give an excuse so your street cred isn't lost. You know, my mum's just gone in hospital, my little son's brother's broke a leg. To give that excuse not to go out, because a lot of them go out on them streets and got to keep the face with the friends, with the peers, with that knife. And this is when we go into school of telling them alternatives of what to do. Just very quickly, I tutored a young lad and said, well, he was in prison. I can't go out and do this. I can't go out and be a mechanic, you know. And I said, he was calling his, I won't say the word, what he was calling his tutor. Very cut a long story short, after talking to him for so long and telling him which road does he want to choose, he went in the prison, went back on his mechanic course. He ended up still in touch with him, opening his own garage. It's getting through to them which road you want to go on. Do you want a nice house, nice holidays, nice everything, or do you want to spend your life in prison? And it's telling them the circumstances and getting through to them. And the only way to do that is from an early age of asking them what life do they want. Put the knives down. Don't go out with a knife. If you feel intimidated by your friends, give an excuse. There's always excuses out there.
No, look, it's the valuable lessons, and all power to you, Gaynor. Really appreciate your time this morning.